Now available in paperback and e-readers. Spellbound, a darker shade of black. Get your copy today at your favorite online bookseller. Better get the coleslaw, y'all, cause we're having us a barbecue. Actress Gwyneth Paltrow says that white women learn self-love from black women. That's some bullshit right there. Now, Gwyneth Paltrow made this statement about white women learning how to love themselves from black women while she was standing aside Dr. Ella Bell at the Makers Conference in Beverly Hills. And as she was at this Makers Conference in Beverly Hills, she was praising her black friends for having this intrinsic, incredible self-honoring. And according to Gwyneth Paltrow, she says it's like from the deepest part of their souls all the way to the tips of their fingers, these black women love themselves, and further goes on to say that black women know themselves, love themselves, in a way that she thinks white women are not taught to. And according to her, she says that I think white women are taught to be competitive with one another, which is something she's tried to work so hard to dispel, because she doesn't believe in competition between women, because we're raised to be competitive, to be jealous, and look over each other's shoulders. And further goes on to say that it isn't that way among her circle of black women, and she's learned so much from her black friends about ruthless self-acceptance and full love of self. And she further goes on to say keeping white women at odds with each other in competition keeps the patriarchy strong. Now, I don't know where Gwyneth Paltrow lives and what type of black women she lives around to make these Arkham-certified statements, but when it comes to most of the black women I have lived around and been around, most of those black women do not really love themselves the way Gwyneth Paltrow wants to tell us that they love themselves. No, when it comes to most black women, many black women have a severe inferiority complex as related to themselves, and this is something that has been passed on from generation to generation of black girls as they've lived in this system of white supremacy. And as they have lived in this system of white supremacy, generation after generation of black girls, as they grow up into women, don't have self-love. No, they have a lot of self-loathing because they see white women like Gwyneth Paltrow being elevated to a high social position in our American society. And as they see white women elevated to that high position in American society and Western society, what many of these black women have is a serious case of envy, and that envy basically turns into self-hatred that has many black women out here not loving and appreciating who they are, but has them out and looking to try to emulate this white woman. And that is shown to me every day when I look at the behaviors of black women that show us how insecure they are by doing things like sewing a white woman's hair inside of their head and bleaching that same hair blonde, and also going out here and getting these skin bleaching creams to lighten their skin. So when it comes to a lot of black women, they have a really serious case of self-hatred that they have been taught for over 4 centuries because they saw that white woman being elevated to that high position in society. And as they saw this white woman elevated to this high position in society, what they do is they feel very insecure about themselves, and it makes it where this black woman doesn't love herself, even though many heterosexual black men, like myself, try to show how much we love black women. Sadly, she can't reciprocate that love because she does not love herself, and any effort to try to tell her that she's beautiful or that she is great, she refuses to hear because in many cases she is spellbound and she wants to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people. And because she wants to fit into the black box that's acceptable to white people, what she will do is put on an act in front of these white women, and as she puts on that act to try to make it look like she likes herself, what she's really doing is looking to try to gain favor with that white woman, no different than what the mammies used to do in the days of slavery, because the mammy wanted to get on the good side of the white woman in order to gain their favor and approval. And that's where Gwyneth Paltrow basically doesn't really understand female nature, because when it comes to women, women are naturally competitive. And I talk about this in my book, The Woman Crisis, and my book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. Most women are naturally competitive with each other, and they're naturally competitive with each other because when it comes to women, women want to be the center of attention, one, and two, they want to be the center of attention for the men who have the most resources because they want to be provided for by those men. So when Gwyneth Paltrow sits there and talks about, oh, white women are taught to be competitive with one another, well, that's a natural trait that mothers teach their daughters, and they teach their daughters this trait because they know that in order for their daughters to survive, their daughters need to understand that they are more of women out here than men, and they have to do what they need to stand out. So she's saying that she's trying to work hard to dispel something that is a part of natural female nature, and is just full of it when she says this, because in the whole business of entertainment that she's a part of, women are naturally competing for these roles as related to Hollywood, and they're competing to the point where some of them are even willing to drop the skid mark Fredericks of Hollywood thong to allow guys to get their carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor, and giving them a taste of the atomic waste in exchange for a role in one of their movie spaces. That's what women are in Hollywood as related to competition. And when it comes to women, again, they're naturally jealous of one another. And she's sitting there saying that, oh, this doesn't happen, but this is all a part of female nature. I know this because I lived in a house with sisters, and this is a natural part of women. But she says, oh, this doesn't happen in circles of black women. And I just, that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Because if you're ever around real black women and circles of black women, these women can be just as competitive. But what Gwyneth Paltrow is trying to do here is trying to minimize black female competition, because she wants to believe that white women are the only ones who can compete in the social marketplace. So what Gwyneth Paltrow is trying to do here is trying to say, oh, black women passively don't compete, but aggressively wants to take a jab at black women by saying that they can't compete, because she doesn't want them competing with her. And I talk about this in my screenplay, all about Marilyn. I have a whole scene where the Marilyn character, who is a black actress, is confronted by two white females who see her as slim and attractive, and they get jealous of her and take shots at her in the gym before she works out. When they see her cut, chiseled stomach and her nice, shapely curves, they take shots at her because they don't like the idea of seeing a slim, attractive black woman, because white women like Gwyneth Paltrow don't want to compete against slim, attractive black women, because they know in the social marketplace, if they have to compete with a black woman who is the equal of a white woman, what that does is it makes these women feel insecure about the artificial place they have been placed in the system of white supremacy as the standard of beauty, and that's what makes these women feel extremely insecure about themselves. And This is the foundation of the self-hatred and the jealousy that white women have, because when it comes to white women, they have an extreme jealousy of black women's beauty. They have an extreme jealousy of black women being the center of attention. I talk about that in All About Marilyn too, where Marilyn, when she's out here being the center of attention, Tabitha Strong, the star of the movie Sell Out, gets upset and wants to attack her. But when you talk about this is what the white woman doesn't want to talk about. She wants to sit there and wants to say, oh, there is no competition. And that's what Gwyneth Paltrow is trying to do here, trying to minimize the whole competitiveness of women, because she doesn't want to see black women as competitive. But many of these white women do compete against black women, and what they want to do is stifle the competition against black women by saying, oh, black women passively, again, love themselves, which is a shot at black women, because she knows that black women don't love themselves, because if black women did love themselves as a collective, again, you would not see black women going out here frying this fake hair of another woman, or of an Indian woman or a white woman, frying this hair blonde. You wouldn't see her trying to sew this other woman's hair in her head. You wouldn't see her putting on lace front wigs over her own hair, to the point where she makes her entire hairline basically recede from these weaves and these wigs, to the point where she's looking like George Costanza. And you wouldn't see black women going out here trying to cover their face in a gallon of makeup a shade lighter, or looking to bleach their skin at all. No, you wouldn't see black women like that. No, you would see black women the way I used to see them back in the 1980s and the early 90s, where sisters had their own hair in their heads. And while some of those sisters may have had a press and curl or a perm here and there, this was their own hair, and they wore their own hair proudly. I mean, I wish I had been in my brother's era, where you had sisters actually wearing their own hair, natural, like that. But the whole thing is, sisters at least did have their own hair, not trying to go out here and trying to glue some artificial hair on their head to try to emulate Gwyneth Paltrow, when in actuality, women like Gwyneth Paltrow, they don't really see this as a form of respect when these black women try to emulate these white women. No, they see it as something that they don't need to respect or regard, and they see basically most of these black women as a joke. Because what Gwyneth Paltrow was doing here was showing how she had no respect for black women with these paternalistic statements. And these paternalistic statements from Gwyneth Paltrow basically shows me how she doesn't understand anything about black women. And she's talking about how white women need to learn from our black sisters in the way they respect themselves, not understanding how she basically disrespected black women. Because when it comes to black women, a lot of them, again, have this issue where they don't like themselves, they don't respect themselves, and that is shown by some of these sisters out here going out here and participating in dysfunctional behaviors. And I'll repeat them once more. Again, if a sister respected herself, why would she be out here going out here buying one of these lace front wigs from one of these Korean stores that sell hair and beauty supplies? Why would she be out here looking to go out here and sew some blonde colored Indian woman's hair inside of her head? Why would she be out here sewing that hair in her head to the point where this hair is basically breaking off all of her scalp and making her hairline go all the way back like George Costanza? Why would this woman be going out here buying bleaching creams to bleach her skin? Why would she be going to get plastic surgery on her nose? Why would she be going out here and doing these things? Critical question I want to ask Gwyneth Paltrow, because women who love themselves don't go out here and look to change their looks to emulate that of another woman. No, they love their own beauty and they love their own selves. That's what black women would do if they had any sense of self-esteem or self-worth. And they would look at Gwyneth Paltrow with a side eye when she says, oh, white women learn from black women's self-love, because they know that when it comes to the white supremacist white female, she is the one who teaches hate from minute one, and she taught the black woman self-hatred ever since black women were assigned to care for the white woman during slavery. So Gwyneth Paltrow sitting here talking about black women and self-love, teaching her how to love herself. No, that may have been what the maid and the mammies did back in the day when they went out here gassing the white woman up, telling her that she's beautiful, but the whole thing is she's telling her what she wants to hear because she wants to gain favor from that white woman. But as she's telling her this, sadly, she's full of self-loathing and self-hatred because she wants all of that attention that this white woman is getting from this white man who controls all of the resources that she sees. And because of this, she doesn't learn how to love herself. And she doesn't learn how to love herself because whenever a black man tries to show her love, like I do when I'm writing books on the SJS Direct imprint to dispel this kind of insanity, like Isis the Beauty Myth and Spellbound, when I try to write those kind of books, those black women cannot hear that kind of truth because they don't want to see that they are beautiful, because what they want is validation from this white man. They want this white man to tell her that she's beautiful, but sadly, subconsciously, she doesn't believe this about herself, and that's what leads to a lot of the insecurities that a lot of black women have as related to their own beauty and as related to themselves. And because they don't love themselves, what happens is they'll sit there and again, they'll get around a white woman and make it look like they like themselves, when in actuality what they like is the attention from this white female, because they believe in a covert contract. If this white woman pays them attention, they can elevate their social status. But in actuality, what that woman is doing is lowering herself, because she's looking for attention and approval from this white woman, instead of understanding that the Most High loves her, the Most High sees her as beautiful, the Most High made her to be beautiful in His own image, and doesn't understand these statements as related to truth, because she wants to go out here and follow behind a false god. Because again, when it comes to some black women, they deify and worship this white man, and others deify and worship this white woman as the ideal standard of beauty. And that's what Gwyneth Paltrow doesn't understand. And she's sitting there talking about, oh, how keeping white women at odds with each other keeps the patriarchy strong. Well, the whole thing is that the white woman is a supporter of the patriarchy, because who taught the white man how to run the patriarchy? Because the white man's first teacher is the white woman, which shows how full of it Gwyneth Paltrow is. She wants to sit there and say, oh, there is no real patriarchy in the black community. Well, the black patriarchy got destroyed because of black women siding with white feminists in the 1960s in America. And because they sided with them, we don't have black men in the homes as fathers, creating a patriarchy to elevate our daughters, because it's the father who teaches the daughter to love herself, because it's the father who nurtures the daughter, and it's the father who teaches the daughter that she's beautiful. It's the father who instills confidence in his daughter by validating her and telling her that she's loved and desired. And it's the father who goes out here and nurtures that daughter to the point where that daughter feels emotionally secure. It's the father who does that. Unfortunately, when it comes to the white feminist, she doesn't like the black man giving the black daughter love, because she couldn't get love from her white father. But you'll have Gwyneth Paltrow going out here and saying, oh, white women were in love from black women, when it was white women who took away the black father, who taught the black daughter to love herself, because it was the black father who was out here looking to show his daughter love and trying to create images to show a daughter love. That is what the men in the community do for women, but you can't hear that story from Gwyneth Paltrow. And Gwyneth Paltrow again shows me how racist she is after saying the N-word in Paris line. Now she's showing me how further racist she is, and basically wants to be over the black community as an overseer, presenting her paternalistic view of black people. And sadly, you got spellbound black women who are going to eat all of this up and believe that, oh, because this white woman says that white women learn from black women's self-love, that they love themselves, when in actuality, many black women don't see how they're just being bamboozled by a white female who basically is just as racist as the white slave master's wife was on the plantation, and just as rude and disrespectful as the slave master's wife, basically wanting to see black women in a second place position under her, or basically, as I see it, the bottom position under all the women in the world. And in her attempt to try to show so-called respect for black women, shows nothing but contempt for all of the sisters out there. Now, if you want to read some books that elevate the image of black women and show love for black women and present images of self-love to black women, you can pick up my books like those in the Isis series, such as Isis the Beauty Myth and Isis My Sister, My Frenemy, and books like Spellbound, which talk about the whole thing about black women loving themselves and black women fighting against self-hatred. You can pick up those books along with other SJS Direct books that elevate black women, such as those in the Isis series, those in the Esteem series, and books in the Spinsterella trilogy, and my vampire novel, Eternal Night. And you can also find out more about what happens with black women as related to leading to them having issues of self-hatred in my nonfiction book, Why 70% of Black Women Are Single. And you can get all of those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. And you can also find those books at other online booksellers like Smashwords, the iBookstore, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and Draft to Digital. Not to mention, in paperback, you can find them at Walmart and Target. And if you'd like to see me make more videos taking celebrities like Gwyneth Paltrow to the barbecue, you can send a donation to the Patreon, the PayPal, or the Cash App by clicking the links in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, Isis, Imitation of Life. The Goddess Next Door helps a young black girl overcome racism during the era of Jim Crow in this Golden Age Isis series adventure. Get Isis, Imitation of Life in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today. Now available in paperback and e-readers, Isis Legacy. The sorority secrets of the Goddess Next Door are revealed in this all-new Isis series adventure. Get Isis Legacy in paperback and e-readers at online booksellers everywhere. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Isis Dark Incubus. The Goddess Next Door gets enthralled in a romantic entanglement with an evil incubus in this all-new Isis series adventure. Pre-order your copy of Isis Dark Incubus at Amazon.com and other online booksellers everywhere. Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.